Hey everybody, how you doing out there? And welcome to another ranking video. I am actually ranking the victims' deaths from all of the Friday the 13th movies. I'm actually going to be doing their individual movies. Now, how this actually came up was I sat down and I watched like the first two, maybe three Friday the 13th movies, and I was like, you know what, I'm really liking the deaths. I think the first three have some pretty, not all of them, but a lot of like pretty cool and pretty unique ideas. And I was like, yeah, I really feel like this is what I want my next videos to be. So if you're someone out there who really likes ranking videos, please follow me on this bloody path of all these victims, all the way from the original to the remake back in 2009. And just like how I did with the ranking the Jason's deaths, I'm going to kind of give a little bit of what happens just before and then going into the kill, and then why I think it's something that's really bad, or why it's something that might be okay, or something I really do think is good, other than I would say it's cool and unique, and that might be my answer. So if you would like to participate in this and you would like to rank all the kills from the original Friday the 13th, please give me a comment down below. If you want to just tell me your best and your worst, you could do that. If you just want to watch the video, that's perfectly fine. Let's get ourselves started here. So in this very first movie, we have 8 deaths. And going with the worst of the worst, number 8 for me is got to be Steve Christy. He's the one that ended up buying and being the new owner for Camp Crystal Lake. So how we get with him is he's actually at a coffee shop. He actually needs to get back to camp, and he starts driving, and it's pouring down, raining, and he ends up getting himself stuck in some mud. So what happens is, thank God he got lucky enough that a cop was driving by, and the cop gets him like so far, and then the cop actually got called to an accident, possibility a Jaws of Life situation going on. So the cop had to drop off Steve, and so Steven's walking through the woods, and someone has a big flashlight, and they're flashing in Steve's face, and he's kind of doing this and trying to, like, so he's not getting too blind. And it's like, oh, it's you, what are you doing here? He walks towards the camera, and he gets stabbed, and they don't ever show the stab. We get the aftermath later on, but the way that he gets stabbed, and he just kind of, ugh, you know, almost like, oh my God, I got cramps, I gotta go take a shit. That's just the look that I kind of got. So I thought that was definitely one of the stupider deaths. Number 7, I gotta go with Ned. What happens is he's actually watching Jack and Marcy. These are actually 2 of his friends that actually drove up with him. I think Ned was the one that was even driving, if I'm correct. And so the thing is, he's watching those 2 kind of like talking, but he doesn't know what they're saying and making out. So Ned just kind of walks up to this cabin steps, and he sees a shadow of someone walking in, and then he actually walks in. Well, later on, we get the aftermath of this one where Jack and Marcy are making out, and the camera pans, and this is a bunk bed, so the camera pans from the bottom and slowly goes up, and there's Ned, and his neck is slashed. And I like the makeup effects on that, but I wish it was something where maybe they could have had him walking in, maybe showing the knife, him having a reaction, the knife coming down, and maybe some blood goes on the walls, but maybe that would have been a little obvious that Jack and Marcy would have seen that there too. But I think if they would have done something like that, I think it maybe would have gone up at least 1 or 2 spots than where I have it. Number 6 is a character named Barry, which I didn't even know his character's name. He is the very first victim in this movie that's supposed to take place in 1958. So what happens is he's actually making out with a young lady, and then all of a sudden we get the point of view of our killer, and the thing is, it's like, I think the girl's like, oh my God, I hear somebody coming up, and of course the young boy, we ain't doing anything. I think he did that perfect timing, the way he said that. The killer goes right up to Barry and stabs him, and then he falls over, and there's the knife and the blood mark there. Number 5 is Brenda. Now she's another one that is an aftermath death. So what happens is she goes into her cabin, and she actually gets herself out of her regular clothes, because of course it's pouring down, raining, and she's in her pajamas, and she has a candle, and she looks like she's trying to read a little bit before she went to bed. Well, she starts hearing voices, and it sounds like it's a little I don't know if it's a little boy or a little girl's voice there, but all of a sudden she goes out looking around and she ends up at the archery range there at the cabin, and then all of a sudden we hear a scream and that's it. But where we get the aftermath is whenever we have our final girl, Alice, the thing is she's walking around a different cabin and she has like kind of a lantern, and all of a sudden Brenda gets thrown through a window and she has like 3 or 4 arrows all around her there. And I think it's pretty messed up. You're already dead, and all of a sudden that you're going to get an extra, hey, we're going to throw you through a window and you're going to bleed a little bit more there. So I thought it was, we're kind of into the okay deaths right now with Brenda there. Number 4 is Annie. This is our first victim of 1980, where Barry was the first one of 1958. So the thing is, Annie, she's looking to get a ride to Camp Crystal Lake. She gets about halfway with this one guy, and then she gets picked up again by the killer, that the killer is supposed to slow down because they went past the street to get to Camp Crystal Lake, and Annie's like, screw this. She jumps out of the vehicle and she starts running through the woods. Of course, the killer stops the vehicle, gets out, and starts running after her there. Now, she's limping a little bit. When the killer finally catches up to Annie, she slits her throat, and I really liked the Tom Savini, which, of course, he's the one that came up with these ideas, or maybe in the script and all that. It's like, I know exactly how I want to do these, and I kind of just liked how the throat, how it was slashed and the blood's coming out. I thought that was really good, but I just felt like it couldn't go any higher than number 4. Number 3 is actually Bill, and Bill is our final victim in this movie. How he actually goes is that Alice says, hey, by the way, there were lights on at the archery. Bill's like, you know what, I'll go check it out. That Alice decides to go take a nap. She wakes up, she screams Bill's name and says, oh, he's still not back. I better go look for him there. And so she's kind of looking around different cabins and all that, and then she finally just says, oh, I kind of give up. I'm sure he'll eventually show up. She shuts the door, and in the back of the door, hanging there with arrows, I think one in the shoulder, one in the heart, and one in the eye, there is Bill. And even though this is an aftermath kill, this is definitely one of my favorite kills of this movie. Maybe definitely probably a lot better than some of the sequels and the remake that we'll get to. But I really did like Bill's death. I thought that was pretty messed up. We're down to the top 2, folks. Number 2 is going to be Jack's kill, Kevin Bacon. So whenever it comes to Jack, him and Marcy are making out, and Marcy's like, hey, you know what? I got to go to the bathroom. So she ends up leaving, and we actually get Jack smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden blood drops start coming down, and that's actually Ned's blood there. And then we get Mrs. Voorhees, who grabs Jack by the forehead, and she actually has one of those bow and arrows and gets the arrow from the back to his neck, and he starts like bleeding out. And it's up to me, I think that's a really cool death for 1980. Number 1 will be Jack's girlfriend, Marcy. I do think she gets the most messed up death. She's in the bathroom because she needed to use the bathroom, and she's washing her hands, and she starts hearing some noises. So all of a sudden she starts going to investigate, and she's pushing like different like curtains over, and then all of a sudden she turns around, she starts screaming, and it's actually the axe, and the axe is coming down. They actually don't quite show it right away, but the axe comes down while she's screaming, and the axe is like right here, about pretty much almost right in the middle of her face there. And then she kind of falls back on a pillar and just starts slowly sliding down. And I think that's a pretty damn cool death in this particular movie. So there you guys go. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this. Hopefully you guys will continue enjoying the sequels, the crossover with Freddy vs. Jason, and the remake once I get a chance to actually get to them. So thank you guys so much. And as always, stay awesome, my good people, and have yourselves a good one. Bye.